fans. I'm doing this because I want you to join on Halloween night, so I'm bringing my own spooky atmosphere. This, and I also have nothing to highlight my face, so instead of looking like an idiot, I'll just put this down. Hi, everyone.
But you've got the smoke wafting into the shot, so it is very Halloweenish.
Spooky, right? It's a hazy atmosphere here. We are in your houses, in your office, on your cell phone, on your mobile devices, somewhere and anywhere around Atlanta, or the United. I was going to say United Nations, but
the universe.
The universe. Obviously, anywhere in the world you can be watching us right now. So we thank you for joining us. I am in my new, very white kitchen in Atlanta, joined by my co-host John. Hello, John. How are you doing?
Hello, Kelly.
You were in headquarters, correct?
Office HD, yes. In all of its scarfed and chapeaued glory, yes.
Exactly. Looks beautiful, sir. Obviously, welcome. We have a lot to get to. There is a lot on our plate tonight. Atlanta United looking at the next 3 games as must come out with a point. Is the is the run of the game here. So why don't we just go ahead and start breaking down into it?
Are we going backwards before we go forward? What are we doing? We need to get your thoughts on the DC United game.
Yes. So obviously Atlanta United playing DC United. It's not the result I obviously wanted from that game. I was hoping to get a better result, something more along the lines of the last time we played DC United, which would have been a real doozy and a fun one to watch. But DC came out. They looked a little bit more connected than they did last time we played them, and they got the 3 points out of it. So good on them. I think overall Atlanta United played really well in the first 45 minutes and then seemed to taper off a bit in the second 45. Overall, my sentiments is that Moreno is a real peach. I mean, extremely good on the ball, had a heck of a strike in the 45th minute, almost got us a goal right then and there, but he is looking ever so brighter and connecting better with the players the more that we see him on the pitch. What are your thoughts about Moreno so far?
Well, I love the half volley that was sent right on to Bill Hamid, and that is one of the flashes that we get to see going forward where Marcelino Moreno is concerned. And I'm enjoying, it's still, there's rust. There's still the hello, my name is moments that you're having with the other players. It's like, trying to figure out who you can hang with and who those relationships are. But what you're seeing out of Marcelino Moreno is good so far. It's good first steps. You're just looking for more and more evolution. But yeah, the half volley made you sit up straight in your chair and take notice that that's what you're getting with Marcelino Moreno in the door at number 10.
Yeah, it did make me sit up in my chair. I currently was painting at that exact moment, so I might have hit a different brushstroke than I would have wanted to. It was just one of those moments where you're kind of trying to do this, and then that happens, and then you just jump a little. Luckily, it was still within the same surface I was trying to hit, but
there you go.
It was incredibly beautiful, and also, like you said, that spark that we were hoping to see, and we'll be seeing more from Moreno, I'm sure, as the time goes on. Additionally, DC capitalized from a little bit of the lack of, I wouldn't say energy, but the lack of creations and going to the back of the net on that second 45. In the 75th minute, obviously that free kick from Julian Gressel, who is incredibly dangerous when it comes to free kick and placement within the box. So we knew that was definitely something that needed to be guarded well. Miles got on the wrong side of Knaus, and honestly, it should have been stopped by Brad. It almost looked like he was trying to collect and bounce down instead of actually just collect in general.
Yeah.
And that ended up being, obviously an error that you can't take back.
No, and you mentioned shots on target. 5 shots on target in the first half. There was only 1 shot on target in the second 45 that was registered in the statistics, 11 shots overall. Half of them on target, but once again, none of them end up in the back of the net until the Gallagher moment late. And you get that first goal from DC United with Knaus from Gressel. And once again, you see Atlanta United continuing. Well, A, on one side, they're having to chase the match late as they're trying to get some kind of a result. But B, the fact that they are chasing the match and they're going after it. They're not just There's no hangdog. There's no, oh, woe is me or anything like that. And once again, you see the connection between Brooks Lennon on the right and John Gallagher, who was working his way down the middle. And Gallagher called it and pointed to a spot. Lennon put it there on a dime, and it was a great effort by Gallagher to put it in the back of the net to draw it at one.
Absolutely agree. It was a spectacular cross-in from Lennon. That's more of what we want to see from him, obviously. He does a lot of great movement on the side, on the right side. Obviously, the speed, his ability to play 1v1, his ability to get back and defend as well. He is a multi-use player, but I definitely agree with you in that ability to just lob balls in dangerous positions in our final 18 is extremely important. Going forward, again, there was the unfortunate stoppage time goal in the 92nd minute where Rivas, it was almost that Meza was going one direction, Miles tried to step up, and at that point in time, when you sky a ball like that, it's almost impossible. He could have either hit it over the net or it could have hit the bar. I mean, there are so many possibilities for something like that. It's just almost impossible once it hits that sweet spot, which it did. So obviously DC capitalized, walked out of the Mercedes-Benz with 3 points, and it put Atlanta on a very difficult road in the next 3 games. So looking at the next 3 games, because I do want to get into a little bit of discussion with Atlanta United, right? As you said, and as you pointed out diligently, Atlanta does have a fight to them. They do have this ability, unfortunately, as we've seen more so this season, with going down first, to be able to fight back and try to equalize the game or even go get a game winner, as we have seen in other matches where they are so very close to even just taking the game. Overall, I think Atlanta has a fight. They have a grit to them, but this is going to be a different level of grit that I think that's going to need to come out in the next 3 games. You're facing Orlando, obviously, tomorrow. You're facing FC Cincinnati on Sunday. And then you're facing Columbus on decision day. And Columbus, as always, as we have always seen, has been a difficult team to play against, much like Atlanta United is, in a very different way. So Atlanta's path right now to make it into the 10th spot or to make it above that playoff line is a very difficult one. Obviously, we need to come away with 3 points in 2 of the matches, and then we need to come away with 1 point in 1 of the matches. As you play that out, you're thinking, okay, we definitely need to win against Orlando. We definitely need to win against FC Cincinnati, and then we need to get a point or steal a point from Columbus on decision day. Is that how you're seeing this plays out, or do you see it going a different way?
Well, I see that, obviously, I think 7 is the magic number here, because if you're looking at the Eastern Conference as it sits right now, and as you and I are talking, Montreal and Nashville are going at it right now. Montreal is having a home game, although it is their home away from home up in Harrison, New Jersey. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well as the evening goes.
Home away from homes.
Yeah. So Montreal right now and Nashville, right now they're in the 8 and the 9. And I think that if you're an Atlanta United fan, you're looking for Nashville to get a win here. You're looking for Nashville to get full points. You don't want Montreal to stretch any further away from you as Montreal's run-in continues. Nashville right now in 8th place at 25 points. Montreal is 9th right now at 23. Miami with their win over Orlando, and we'll get into that as we're getting into the discussion about the Orlando City match. Miami right now has 20 matches in, 21 points. Chicago has a match in hand, and now we're below the playoff bar. Chicago right now, 21 points, 19 matches played. Chicago's run-in is very, very tough, and we've talked about it, and really it's going to be hard for them as you're looking at the games. Really, you're trying to figure out where a win can come, and it's hard to gauge where that win can come from. And this plays into Atlanta United fans' thoughts when it comes to the remainder of the schedule, because Atlanta United right now, 12th at 19 points. You end up with 7 points in the final 3 games. 19 and 7 is 26, and it took me a while to get that math figured out, especially this point of the day. So that's a target. So you're looking at 2 wins and a draw in some combination. You can pretty much sit there and think that you would expect Atlanta United to get the win in the final home match against FC Cincinnati. So that means in some combination of Columbus and Orlando, you're looking for 4 points. one of these places is a win, one of these places is a draw. So in some combination, that's what you're looking at for that 7-point total, so you can get above the playoff bar and hopscotch some folks and get into the postseason.
Absolutely. But as far as an Atlanta United fan is considered, as well as I'm sure the front office, you're hoping to get those 6 points up front, right? The quote unquote weaker consider of the team, where it be Orlando, although they have not been weak at all this season. And then obviously FC Cincinnati, who have had some surprise wins this year. But again, you're absolutely right. You're looking at a combination of those 3 games, and you're hoping to get obviously 3 points out of Cincinnati, and then whether or not 4 points, 3 in one game or 1 in another. And as you said with Chicago, again, their run-up is going to be crucial because they have 4 more games to play, right? So tomorrow, again on Wednesday, they play Philadelphia, which, as we have seen, is extremely difficult to play against. So you can assume that they probably won't get any points out of that. Then they play Nashville this Saturday, which, again, is another game where it's a little bit up in the air. And then they have their last 2 games, again on Wednesday, Minnesota, and then they play NYCFC on Decision Day, which is never an easy team to play against. So you have to sort of look at Nashville's road and think, okay, there's a possibility that will tend to favor well for Atlanta United fans, especially considering the fact that they've got 4 games.
Yeah. Chicago's road, yeah. With one of those games against Nashville.
Correct. So Chicago has got 4 games in 2 weeks, which again, it means tired legs, means heavy rotation, and you're looking at Chicago as far as what they draw in results to play out very much in how Atlanta can make it above that playoff line come Decision Day.
Right, and then so let's go ahead and take a peek at Miami's run-in as we go. It's FC Dallas this weekend, or FC Dallas midweek. And that's an 8:30 start tomorrow night. Then
Never from the Dallas game. Ever.
No, and then from there it's the weekend, and then you get to Hartford. So you're going to play Hartford FC on the weekend and take care of that one. And then once again you get that 7 days, but the last day for Decision Day when it comes to Miami is Cincinnati. And I know that you wanted to have a discussion with the schedule makers about Decision Day where Miami was concerned.
Why can't we have Cincinnati? Like, why couldn't that have been our Decision Day games? Like, I mean, I guess it's because Atlanta United draws a crowd as far as viewership, that they want to make that game a little bit more contentious. And I'm sure that when they were also drawing up the 2020 season, they couldn't have even predicted that this is where some of the teams have ended up this year. But as everything else with 2020 this year is just a wash, a weird, bizarre joke. It just doesn't make sense, but makes sense. And then this is just sort of what we're living in, right? So this is the era. This is the year of 2020. But this is something that I feel like we also need to discuss. It's something that we had started discussing off air before we came on the show, and it's something that I know that you and Jason like to talk about and like to discuss is how Atlanta has gotten here.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously our token, our talisman, Joseph, gets injured in the first game of the season. Huge blow.
Mm-hmm.
You can't exist you can't see this team existing without someone like Joseph. I mean, he is scoring half of our goals in a season. And so when you remove somebody like him, you've got to figure out, who do we replace him with? Who do we bring in to help that? And then who you bring in to help gets injured right away. Same with Dom, who comes on a free, which was a great deal. Like you said, gets injured as well. We've been subjected to a bunch of injuries this year at weird times and unfortunate times in the season. And it's sort of all piled on to the backs of Atlanta United, and especially Atlanta United fans. When we're talking about this season, we have to realize everything that this team has had happen to it. Obviously we've had a change of coach. We're still with an interim coach. We lost our talisman. We have had multiple injuries. It's this change of players, but it's also realizing that despite everything that's gone on with Atlanta United, they are still constantly fighting. As you said, and I hope you speak more to this, obviously, when I pass over, but they've never been blown out, despite the Chicago game. They've had a real grit to them, and as Jason has said, they are a team that's hard to beat. Even if we don't win the game, it's going to be really hard to beat us.
Okay, let me see if I can remember the chain that I had when we were talking about it. Okay, so you lose Joseph Martinez.
Right.
He goes on long-term injury.
Right.
Your replacement for the long-term injury gets injured, Cubo Torres. And that's another point where I know that a lot of folks, once again, at the time, fantastic piece of business, bringing in an established scorer in MLS like Cubo Torres, you bring him in on a free. But he just has not been putting the ball in the back of the net, which is what he's supposed to be here to do. Then you mentioned Jürgen Damm on the right-hand side. You get the speed over there, and that's what you're looking for from Jürgen Damm. Ezequiel Barco, once again, injured, stops and starts. Then you bring in Marcelino Moreno. And once again, Marcelino Moreno could not train with the squad because of COVID-19 protocols. First time he got to hang out with the guys was in a game situation. And so the rust is there, and the acquaintance is still trying to become a part of it there as well. And so that's up top. Brooks Lennon, right wing back. And we've seen him do tremendous work there. Atlanta United, 10 different goal scorers this year. 10 different goal scorers. All right, pop quiz time. Who's the leading scorer for Atlanta United?
That would be...
And he has this many.
Brooks Lennon?
John Gallagher.
Sorry.
But once again, that gets to the point of all of this is where you have to have other folks helping out as a part of this process, knowing that you have that big loss in Joseph Martinez. Here's your goal scorers this year for Atlanta United. John Gallagher with 4. Brooks Lennon, Adam John, Emerson Hyndman, Ezequiel Barco, Pity Martinez, Jeff Larentowicz with 2. That's another person we forgot to mention. The Pity Martinez transfer to Al Nassr. That's another part of this equation as well.
Part of this.
And so you have 6 individuals who've scored twice. You've had John Gallagher, who has scored 4 times. You have George Bello, Eric Rometty, Jake Mulroney, who have scored once. 10 different goal scorers for Atlanta United this year. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Let's also not forget we've had a non-consistent backline as well when we're discussing the fact that Miles Robinson was injured at the beginning of the season. You had Meza injured at after the MLS's back tournament. You've had a different, despite the good run of form that Anton and Miles had, you've had a very different back line this entire season. So each portion of the field, whether it's the defensive, the midfielder, or the forwards, you've combined, you've mixed, you put the puzzle pieces together to see what fits, what doesn't fit, and we're still trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, when we come and look at this next 3 games, this run of form that we're about to have, we need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to not have what's happened to us recently, which is not capitalizing on our opportunities.
Right. And when the lineup came out for the DC United game, I think this was, in watching our timeline on Twitter, I think that this was as close to the most anticipated lineup that you'd like to have. But once again, with health issues and all of that, and all of that, when you had Cubo Torres up top, you had Jürgen Damm on the right, you had, the whole Barco on the left, your back line of Lennon, Meza, Bello, and Miles. You had a midfield of Marcelino Moreno, Mateus Usechu, and Mo Adams. And Mo Adams in the last 6 games really has come on, and I'm tremendously impressed with what we've seen from Mo Adams. Emerson Hyndman came in and gave you 22 minutes. Jake Mulroney came in. Obviously, Adam John and John Gallagher did as well. But that lineup, when it was first put out there, the response that I saw from a lot of folks on social media was this was the lineup that I would have liked to have been able to see the entire time. But once again, injuries and all of those other kind of things that we've been talking about have kept that from happening. And I think that there's a lot of promise there. But once again, the lack of continuity just from not being able to do it was, is something that, we have to always consider when it comes to looking at a starting 11.
Yeah, definitely. And then just as a bright spot or a good portion to look for Atlanta United fans is that moving into 2021 or even when the CCL starts, that there's a possibility we could have Joseph back. Maybe CCL, but definitely 2021 is, I know that's when they're aiming to get him back on the field. So you're looking at a team that has Joseph as a striker, Dom on the right, Barco or another DP on the left, depending on if he does move, and then Moreno as that number 10 spot. You're going to be looking at an extremely lethal and deadly attacking presence for Atlanta United. Not to mention that you also still have Lennon. You would still have Gallagher. You would still, I don't know if is Torres a 1-year deal?
We don't know, but obviously we'll find out when the season's over.
Right. You have so many possibilities going forward for 2021. Obviously, with a new coach, when the new coach comes in, there will probably be some changes, as is to be expected. But you're still looking at a really good front line for Atlanta United. And that is something, even though this season has not been necessarily what Atlanta United fans would have hoped for, it's still something that you can take something out of and looking forward to the future.
Yeah, you look at a midfield that has parts like Jake Mulroney, Eric Remedi, Emerson Hyndman, Mo Adams, Mateus Usechu, Jeff Lorenowitz, Moreno, just all of these pieces that you can sit in there, and you're hoping that everyone can be as healthy as humanly possible for this 3-game run-in, so you can kind of get a look toward the future of 2021, and also to get into the playoffs. Because one of the things that I would always like to emphasize is that you want to get into the playoffs. Yes. Oh yeah. No, let's
decided to throw something in on us.
When the great and powerful Oz interjects, you always must respect the opinions of the great.
Grief.
Yes, the great and powerful Oz. That is how you are viewed, sir, until your appearance later in the show. So we're preparing for that. But when you look at all of these different elements that you're piecing together, and you want to get into the playoffs so you can have those extra practices. And the analogy somewhat that I've made is when you're a college football team, you want to get into a bowl. You want to get into a postseason bowl, even if you're 6-6, because 1, you have the opportunity to finish on a high note. 2, you get those extra practices to get everybody squared away for the bowl game and then beyond. And so I viewed it in that prism. How close it is to accurate, I can't really tell you, but that's just the first thing that popped into my head. You want those extra practices. You want those extra games. You want those extra reps as a unit so you can work on things and continue to work forward whatever those next steps are. If it's the second round of the playoffs and beyond, great. If you end up having to do other things and focus on, if you're losing the first round of the playoffs, doesn't matter what team we're talking about here. But once again, you've had that opportunity for those extra reps. And for me, that's just as important.
Yeah, it's just extra playing time for teammates to get more acquainted. Again, as well as we've been discussing Moreno, just more time to actually play with his teammates, which I'm sure will only garner better results. So let's go ahead and jump into the discussion, which I'm sure we love to talk about, which is our favorite place in the world.
Yes, our favorite city. Go ahead. Yeah, the purple.
Orlando.
There you go.
Orlando.
Andrew Rannells is so awesome. The purple team, yes.
The purple team. So, purple team, congratulations. They have finally clinched a spot in the playoffs.
Yep.
It was bound to happen at some point, and it's just so apropos that it's in 2020. As if this year was not already a dumpster fire, here's some more of it. Orlando, let's get into it. They obviously played Inter Miami this past weekend. DK, as always, completely dangerous threat when it comes to forwards, and not only is he one of the better forwards in this league, but he's also, if he does not win Rookie of the Year this year, they are confused.
Okay, well, I'll put this down, and we'll have the great and powerful Oz discuss that as well when he comes back up.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's my opinion. Daryl Dike is extremely talented. How he's a rookie, I think, to me, just with his size, his speed, and just how comfortable he is on that team seems a little weird. It doesn't seem like a rookie at all. It feels like somebody that's been on that team for a bit of time. Obviously, him and Nani have a great connection, so that's something that you're going to want to look to when we do play Orlando tomorrow night. But obviously, DK in the 12th minute exploited a very weak Inter Miami backline, as we have said, as Jason has definitely pointed out, that Inter Miami has defensive issues. And Daryl Dike exploited that. 12th minute, put Orlando up 1-0. Gallese obviously kept Orlando in that game a little bit more than, if it maybe had been a different goalie. So then you're also looking at Gallese as being still an insanely good goalkeeper, the octopus in between the sticks. So that will be something that we will you will also have to look forward to.
Take two.
Thank you. Also have to look forward to when we play them tomorrow. It's sort of unfortunate that Jamison got an own goal in that game. That sequence of events for that goal for Matuidi for Inter Miami was kind of all over the place. I mean, even in the replays of that goal, they still couldn't catch where the ball was. So it's unfortunate that a slight try to clear the ball ended up going to the back of the net. So obviously that leveled the game 1-1. Overall, it was a pretty even match. Orlando had their chances. Inter Miami had their chances. They looked pretty level between both teams. And then, you have LGP I believe it was the 89th minute.
Yes.
Doing what LGP likes to do sometimes, which is bombing the box, and it paid for him. So I will say this, because I saw some of this on Twitter that evening, obviously when, we go down and we lose a sort of late stoppage time goal and Inter Miami wins with a late stoppage goal from a former player of ours. You can't compare either of the two. There are a lot of situations in which a player decides or asks to leave a club, or a club is asked for a player and then they decide to make changes and things of that nature. But the consistent bashing of Atlanta United because the trade was done for LGP. Obviously, LGP is a fan favorite. I will love LGP till the cows come home. But I don't think that 2 and 2 coincide. And I do think that despite what the season has looked like, we do have a very good back line.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take and my opinion on it. But I don't find that the criticism is necessary on all of this LGP talk. I just don't think it is.
That if LGP was still here, things would be different and or better.
There's no way to prove that, and 2020 is a year that you cannot predict or analyze in any way whatsoever. So I think it just needs to stop, and that's my take on it. That's going down a whole different road, and we can completely shift from that point of time. But obviously, Inter win that match. Inter Miami FC is, I believe, right at the playoff line. So they are number 10th right now. Obviously, Chicago's 11th, and we are sitting at 12th. Orlando's in the 4th spot. As I said, they clinched finally for the first time in their franchise history a playoff spot, which is huge for them. I'm sure they'll be super excited for that. But playing Orlando, let's go ahead and get into that. What kind of a match do you think that we'll be seeing from Orlando? Are they going to be taking this full tilt, or are you expecting them to be easing off the gas a little bit compared to where their schedule is in the next coming days?
No, I think that when you've got New England at 6, 3 points behind you, when you've got NYCFC at 5, 2 points behind you, and you're right now, if you're Orlando City, you've got 19 matches played, and you're within a win of the 3 seed in Columbus. Right now, let's see, you're having me do math again. So what? 4 matches remaining, 12 points. If you're running, that's 44 at maximum. So, I mean, honestly, if you're probably looking to just hopscotch and get to 3 by the time that math is done. And so right now you're fighting Columbus above you, NYCFC and the Revolution below you, and trying to figure out 3 through 6. You can't take a nap on where you are with a handful of games left because of the teams behind you that can jump you, even though you are currently where you are, you're in, but everybody behind you is still going to be pressing. So no, I anticipate this being as close to a first choice as you can.
Yeah, and I definitely anticipate this being as close to a first choice for Atlanta United as well. Again, in this discussion that we had with 7 points, Orlando in some ways is a must-win if you can make it a must-win. Obviously, if you walk out of there with a tie, you deal with that looking forward ahead. But I think you've got to go in guns blazing in Orlando to, one, make a statement, and also hope to push to get some bit of a movement and momentum behind the guys going into the last 2 games of the season. So I definitely consider this to be a full-on rivalry first team choice with both teams. So regardless, it's going to be a explosive night tomorrow night.
Yeah, and we do have a question from Kefsi, and I'm going to hang on to it until the great and powerful Oz pops in a little later on. Just to give everybody the update, not medically cleared to play for Atlanta United, Joseph Martinez, Miles Robinson. Not medically cleared to play for Orlando, Dom Dwyer, Joao Matinho, and Pereira. Pereira has assumed full team training. Oscar Pareja was hoping that he was getting closer and closer to being in game appearances. And so that's where the players are where injuries are concerned. The loss, and this is from Julia Poe at the Orlando Sentinel, the loss to Inter Miami, here's what some of the folks said. Tesho Akindele called it a wake-up call. Kyle Smith called it a warning sign. So depending on who you talk to after the match, it's can be taken a couple of different ways by whoever you talk to when it comes to Orlando. But yes, that was a 12-match unbeaten string that was stopped by Miami with that win. But the ruthlessness that Oscar Pareja wanted and referenced early on in that 12-match unbeaten string didn't seem to be there toward the end of the run. There was, I think it was going back to the Red Bulls game at the early part of this month was the last time I think that they scored multiple goals in a match. And so that's something, if you're an Atlanta United fan, that you're looking at. It's like, okay, they're only putting a goal on the board. And so if you're sitting there thinking with the lineup that you can put out there in whatever form that it is, you get one, you've got a decent chance to get that point on the road. You get in more than one, you've got a better than decent chance to sit there and come out of there with full points.
Absolutely. And I mean, both teams are looking at coming out of this game full guns blazing. As you said, in some ways it is nice for Atlanta to be coming in at this point in time where that unbeaten streak has been cut off by Inter Miami. That takes a little bit of a dig at Orlando's self-esteem. They'll obviously want to come out and waken up and prove that they are back to their run of form. You don't want that happening against Atlanta United, obviously. You want us to go out and dominate the match. We are a possession-based style team. It's definitely something that I think that we will most likely do, is try to have more weight on the ball. Orlando is extremely good at countering. They are extremely good at retaining possession or getting possession and striking quickly. So in some ways, we need to be more alert than we have been recently and more alert as far as transitions go in general. I think that it's going to be a pretty even match. Obviously, Jason can talk more about this, but when we get down to it, I know like we're a good solid 30 minutes away from score predictions, but I am
20.
30-20. I can't. I have no idea how this game is going to play out. And I think that this just sort of shows where we are at in the season and just how unpredictable things have become with this sort of compression of a schedule that we've been in with multiple teams, and that you're really looking at a lot of teams fighting as much as they can and putting out these first choice lineups and really going guns blazing into these last 3 or 4 matches that they have. I feel like outside of this game and just as MLS as a whole, we're going to see a lot of weird results. We're going to see a lot of unexpected results. And with this particular match, I have no idea how this game is going to play out. I think Atlanta United can capitalize on Orlando City, and I think that they have a point to prove, as I'm sure the same with Orlando does. But I really hope and I really feel like that this is the moment Atlanta United tightens the belt strap and, fastens the boots and says, let's go for it. So it'll be really interesting for sure. What are you seeing as far as your prediction, as far as the players that we should be looking at for Orlando?
Basically, well, for me, it's when it comes to Orlando and Miami for Atlanta and Orlando for the run-in, it is my coach coming to me and saying, "What can you give me? How many minutes can you give me?" Because you're looking at this stretch of games, and you know in your mind you sit there and it's like, "All right, what can you give me? What can you give me? I need you to give me this. I need you to give me this." And the players are going to want to dive into this whole thing. But an intangible for me when it comes to Orlando is how do they respond? And you mentioned it. How do they respond now that this unbeaten string is over? Looking at the quote from Teshu Akindele, looking at the quote from Kyle Smith, looking at that vastness of a response, it's like one's like, okay, yeah, it's a wake-up call. And the other one's like, nope, that's a warning sign. So the sense of urgency where Oscar Pareja has preached calmness the entire time. How do they respond with this unbeaten string over? Have they dusted themselves off? Have they just kind of sat there and they've gone like this? And it's like, all right, it's done. Let's move forward. Or does it linger in the back of their mind, especially if Atlanta United gets the early goal? They get on the board early, then all of the thoughts of having to press maybe a little bit more enters their minds. And I know that we've talked about in the past where Orlando's concerned. I want to see what their backline looks like because I think that the speed that Atlanta United has, even more so now with the individuals that we saw last time out with DC, I think that they can be had once again down the wings. And so that's something for me that I'm looking forward to seeing when I see what the 11 is because of looking at lineups and seeing how things lay out. But yeah, I want to see how Orlando City responds, especially if Atlanta United gets that first goal on the board.
Yeah, and as we said, we expect a full first team lineup for both teams, so it should be really interesting. I think both teams, as their first choice, are going to be packing a heavy punch as far as firepower. Let's go ahead and bring Jason on, the godfather of the soccer world, the man behind the iron.
Do you have your entrance music, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what intro music he's going to be using. I'm actually really can't be something as simple as Rocky. It's got to be something like monumental, I'm sure.
Yo.
Jason, you dance? John, was that you dancing?
If you want to, I wouldn't call it that.
Okay.
That's about right. Yeah, that's it. That was me always searching for the 2s and 4s. That is my life goal, is always trying to find them. So,
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
I would agree with you 120% on that, where that's concerned. See, now you've got Kelly after Kelly starts with the Halloween candle and the smoke and all of this stuff, and now you've got her with a case of the giggles as we're getting into the run-up and discussing Orlando City.
I'll take a laugh anywhere these days.
It is Maradona week here at SDH.
We do what we can. It's a goal for Nashville, too, which is a very good thing.
Oh, wow. See? That's what I get for looking at timelines. Oh, see, now you're a little ahead of me. So, okay, so 33rd minute, Nashville's up 1-0.
Dig it. That's the result that was needed.
Yep. And Clement Diop has pounded the turf in disgust. So he's down 1-0 on the 33rd.
Okay. Well, that's good for us. So
Kelly, what's on your mind?
Let's talk Orlando. Let's talk how this game one can play out. Let's talk about possible players on the field. Obviously, we know that one of the players will be missing from due to a positive COVID-19 test. We do not know who that player is, but we're just assuming that one of the players will be unavailable for tomorrow. But we are just going to assume at this point in time that all players are available and, give our opinions in that matter. But let's look at Orlando as far as how Atlanta can shape to not only defend but also attack and get some points on the board for the game tomorrow. How do we see that playing out?
Yeah, Orlando's a weird team at this point because I think last time we saw them, we had a different feeling about Orlando City because of the run of games they were on. And this was their first loss over the weekend in 12, but they had drawn their last 3. I mean, it's not like they've been lighting it up lately. They've got one win in their last 6. A lot of draws, but they've been struggling. And when I'm preparing for a match, I have a set of notes for each team, and I update that set of notes for the match. So, I run the team stats for different categories, and everything has gone down, in some cases dramatically, for Orlando since we saw them last. They're not a team, like when you look at the points this season, you compare the two, and yes, Orlando is having a much better season than Atlanta. They have 32 points. Atlanta has 19. That's a big difference. Yeah. Okay, when you look at expected goals, they've done well. But when you start to go further down the numbers, they're not passing better. They're not like a far more aggressive team defensively. They're good, and they've been good in moments. They haven't been as good lately. And I'm starting to wonder why. You look at a player like Robin Janssen, who's been outstanding for them at center back. He's played a lot of minutes. His performances have dipped here lately. Had the own goal against Miami, which was a little unfortunate. But, you're starting to see guys drop off a bit, with a couple exceptions. Daryl Dike seems like he's found another gear now. He had dropped off for a minute, which is typical in your rookie season. Nani has kept his strong form. I think Sebastian Mendez has come back from international duty, raring to go. But Chris Mueller's been a little more quiet here lately. Janssen's dropped off a bit. You're missing Pereira. They're not an unbeatable team. They're not in a great place right now. And they have this pressure because they have New England chasing them. They don't have the top 4 locked up. And now you've got Atlanta coming to town, and you would love nothing more than to beat them in front of some of your fans. But you haven't done that before. Do you start to feel that a bit if you're Orlando? This is a big test for them.
Kefsey came in on the timeline, Jason, and asked, basically it's something about both squads. 1, will Franco play? Should Remedi? And how do we stop Chris Mueller?
Chris Mueller, you want to keep him outside. You don't want to let him cut inside. You don't want to let him get into areas around the top of the 14 or the top of the 18, zone 14. You want to keep him out of there. You want to keep him wide. You can't dive in on his dribbles. That's the problem. I think at times lately we've seen George Bello and Brooks Lennon try too hard on some of these tackles, and they're getting themselves out of position. Stand him up. Make him beat you. Don't make it easy for him by diving in for a tackle. Just keep him outside. Just wall him off. Just keep him outside. What was the first question? Escobar?
Whether or not he would play.
Yeah, we don't know anything on that one.
Should Remedi was the other part.
It's going to depend on how people are feeling at this point. Because Mo Adams has won playing time with his performances here lately. Mo's been outstanding. Yep. Moreno's going to play if he's able to. And then it's Heineman or Josetu. So if somebody can't go, that opens up a spot for Eric Remedi, but he's fallen down the depth chart a bit. Mo Adams has passed him here lately. Josetu and Heineman do different things, and Moreno's going to play whenever he's available. So that has made it difficult for him. It's Mo's performances have made it difficult for Jeff Larentowicz to get back on the field. And Jeff has been very good. But Mo has been at another level because he's so much more mobile. He can step forward. He can step into passing lanes. He can drive the team forward, but he can cover that ground and get back and defend. I liked Adams and Josetu and Moreno in that central midfield on Saturday. I'd like to see it again. It's just this time of year, these amount of games in a short period of time, we're guessing on if people are going to be able to go again on short rest.
Yeah. This is actually a question that I'm glad was asked because I also want to ask about the back line. Obviously, Escobar is still a question as whether or not he's available to play. So we are looking at currently right now either Miles, Anton, or Meza. Do we feel like Meza has dipped below Anton as far as first choice on the back line?
I don't think so, but they haven't been available a lot at the same time. When they were earlier, Walks got the start. But then Walks has had a little bit of an issue, and Mesa's been playing, and Mesa's been good. I don't think you've had a problem with any of them playing poorly at center back. It's been who's been the best. And for me, your best pairing from what we've seen here lately is Robinson and Escobar. And you might not have either one tomorrow. We know we don't have Robinson tomorrow. Escobar, we don't know. So that means you're turning to, in my opinion, Mesa, because you want his leadership there. You want his calmness on the ball against a team in Orlando that is a good pressing team. But if he can't go, and this is the thing about Anton Walks could play for Bello if Bello can't go and you're not ready to play Castillo from the start. Walks could play for Lennon if you need to play him there, if Lennon needs a break. So you've got some flexibility with Walks. Maybe it is best to play Mesa to start and have Walks be your defender off the bench who can play any defensive role you need.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, because, and we've discussed this, having that back line that has started as readily as it has, but to have all of those resources back there can help you out in a run-in like this, where you've got Bello and Castillo, who gives you the experience as a part of this, where you've seen what you've had with Anton Walks, where you've seen what you've had with Mesa and his calm, where you've had Miles as a part of it in the relationship that he had earlier in the season with Anton, with Escobar when he's been there as a discussion. And then Escobar is a part either on the wing or at center back. And then Brooks Lennon is either right wing back or right wing.
What are you getting to? You're confusing me.
No. I'm just addressing the fact that having all of these folks here has helped out and can help if they're all healthy for a run-in, having all of these parts that have been available.
Yeah, but you. John, the problem is you're past the run-in stage. You got to go win games. So you've got to have some of these guys who can get forward. It's not about having a good number of bodies who can play in the back line. It's which one gives you the best chance to win, not just keep a clean sheet, to go win. And that's George Bello and Brooks Lennon. Those two guys can get forward. They can contribute to goals. They can score goals themselves. That's who you want. If they can't go, you've got to turn to somewhere. And you would like to turn to Castillo because he can get forward and help get involved in goals. Anton Walks is not as comfortable, is not as strong going forward in those moments. He's better as a center back. He's better late in a game to come in and keep a lead if you need it, because Lennon and Bello are more dynamic. I think Castillo is more dynamic. But you're in a situation where it's not about the depth chart anymore. It's about 3 points. Because if you don't get 7 in these last 3 games, that's 2 wins and a draw. If you don't get that, I don't think you can really count on making it to the postseason. You're going to have to get a lot of help, which is possible. But you don't want to be in that spot where you're begging for results from other teams. If you get 7, I think you can make the postseason. But that's going to mean you're winning a game on the road against Orlando or Columbus. You can't win 0-0. You've got to go get goals. So you've got to look even at your back line as who can contribute to going forward and getting goals.
As you bring that up, we obviously need goals in the next 3 games. And obviously we need a possibility to capitalize on our chances. Barco obviously has been injured for a good part of the season. We finally get him back. He plays 90 minutes plus for the game against DC United. Do we see him starting in this lineup, or do we think that he needs a little bit of a rest?
If he can go, he's got to go. That's the problem of where you're at right now. If you'd gotten 3 points against DC, we're having a very different conversation. If you had won against DC, as you should have coming into that game, then you could have looked at this as, you know what, let's go in, let's be really defensive for 60 minutes, see where we're at. If we feel like there's points here to take as a 3, if we've got them where we want them, cool, let's bring Barco off the bench. You don't have that luxury anymore. So you've got to play your best lineup for as long as you can. And if he can play into the second half, I think he's got to start. I think he has to. You just don't have the ability to rest people anymore. You've got to field your best 11, no question. Now, if he can't go more than 45, then okay, no, he starts on the bench. But if he can play 45, I think he's got to start.
Yeah, and I think Barco's that kind of player that will want to play.
100%. If he can, he will.
Yeah.
When it comes to Orlando, Kelly had a question early on in the show, and she thought that Daryl Dike is a contender for Rookie of the Year. Who are your contenders for Rookie of the Year?
Well, I mean, it only really matters about this one. Dike has been outstanding. He hit that wall for a little while where his performances dipped just a bit, but Daryl Dike has that unique combination of speed and strength that you want out of a number 9. And what I've noticed about him, the more that I've had a chance to see him, is he's a smart player. He finds space really well. And sometimes when you see, big number 9s who can run and who, can be strong in the air, those kinds of combination of things, you're not used to having to really make a smart run. You can just overpower people or you can run by them. He's smart. He's a savvy player in finding space in the final third, and I think he's gotten better with that as he's gone on. He's had some good games here in this last 5. The game against Atlanta was probably his most poor of the last 5. He's a handful, and especially with a center back pairing that is a little makeshift right now with no Miles Robinson and maybe no Escobar, somebody's going to have to make sure he's accounted for at all times. You're going to have to do that, and you'd like for it to not be Meza. You'd like to have Meza in more of an organizing role, but it might have to be Meza, depending on who's available. And Meza's going to have to be up for that physical challenge because it won't be easy dealing with Dike. He's a player that the U.S. men's national team will be looking at, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, overall, he just has a sort of, weirdly, he has a veteran feel to him, even being a rookie. He seems to be a complete player, which is very fascinating and very enjoyable to watch. Obviously, let's get into the knick-knackery of it all.
Knick-knackery?
I don't know if it's a phrase, but I just came up with it.
That sounds good.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. What are your keys to the match for Atlanta United to pull this out of the magical mouse hat in Orlando?
I think it's down to your best players winning this game for you. And I know that is overly simplistic, but that's what it comes down to this time of year. The games get tighter. You look at how goals are drying up a little bit more around the league than they were. Teams are a little more cautious right now. It's down to the individuals stepping up, and that's why I think Barco playing as much as he can is important. I think Marcelino Moreno playing as much as he can is important. You've got to get something out of the number 9 position. If it's John Gallagher, okay, don't pump in crosses like you have been, but if he's the guy, then feed him some of those through balls. Let him try to run in behind Antonio Carlos and Robin Janssen. If it's Adam John, which I'm not opposed to at all, then pick him out with some crosses. Give him an opportunity to go up and win something. You've got to have Barco, Moreno, and Dom. 2 of them need to have a big game if those 3 start. It's as simple as that to me. It's just those 3 guys, when you look at these 2 teams on paper, pre-2020, you would say those 3 players are 3 of the best players on the field. They have to play like it in this game for Atlanta to win.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the thing that none of us really want to do. Because I still haven't made one up, so I'm going to just go ahead and force you, John.
Oh, I thought you were going to say dance.
Oh, you can dance, too, by all means. Please.
No.
It's garbage.
Yeah, that's true. Gundy, it is. Randall Leal's goal in the 33rd has stood up. It is 1-0 at the break. Nashville is leading Montreal. So you're looking for Montreal not to get any points out of this game tonight. I'm going to go 2-1, the Velvet Driving Slipper Lock of the Week. I'm going to go with that one. I think Atlanta gets 3, and I think they come home with the win. I think that it is Barco, and I think that it is Moreno with another rocket. And
are we seeing late stoppage?
No.
Via Tito? No.
I think that it's 2 on the board, and then I think that Orlando gets 1 in, say, the 75th, and then it's a defensive effort in the final 15 or so that gets you through. So I think that 2-1 Atlanta United. I'm breaking out the Velvet driving slipper lock of the week for this one.
Okie dokie. Jason, you want to go?
Yeah, 1-0 Atlanta. I think they're smart defensively. I think Stephen Glass might have foreshadowed a little bit with his media availability that if they feel like they have to defend a little more here and defend a little deeper, they're comfortable doing that if needed. I think they will find a balance between threatening Orlando and being secure defensively. That was something that got away from them after they pulled the equalizer out on Saturday. Maybe they needed to be a little more secure. Maybe that was just what that game was. It was a 1-1 draw at that point. That point would be nice to have right now. The point against Toronto would have been nice to have. You don't have them, so now you got to go find 3. So you've got to be defensive. You can't let Mueller, you can't let Nani hurt you, but you've got to pick your spots. And I think that this is a game where Jurgen Damm comes good, and I think Jurgen Damm gets you the goal and wins it for you.
Okay. I don't have one, so I'm just going to throw up a ridiculous one. 3-2 Atlanta.
Wow, okay.
Because
Right.
just, you know,
I feel the need for speed.
you know, you got 2 first choice lineups. You got 2 teams that do not like each other. It's a rivalry match. Go hog wild. That's all I got to say. I don't know who scores for either team. I mean, I would assume that Daryl Dike gets one of the points for Orlando. As far as Atlanta is concerned, perfectly fine with having a Meza header, a Dom goal, and then good old John Gallagher running in last minute from a 2-2 draw towards close to the end of the game to pulling us up 3-2. That is my pick for the game. Let's go ahead and tell everybody where we'll be watching the match tomorrow. John, let's start with you.
Here in Office HD and hanging out with the SDH Twitter account while Jason is busy at work.
Where can people find you if they want to tweet at you about your Velvet driving slipper of the week?
Yep, Velvet driving slipper lock of the week. That is at OSG Nelson. During the game, it'll be at Soccer Down Here or at OSG Nelson.
Do you still need people to follow you on Twitter?
Yes, I do.
You still haven't figured out how to work Twitter, have you?
No, I have not.
You can unfollow people, John.
So, congrats.
Yeah,
Small
got a
step.
new phone. I just can't text people.
How long have you had that phone, John?
Week and a half. I went to the store today and they said, "Here, you need a tech buddy."
Yeah, you do. That's accurate. Can they handle Soccer Down Here text stuff too for you?
Probably.
I hope so. That'd be great. Then I don't have to do it.
Jason, where can everybody watch what's going on with you for tomorrow?
All right, so Wall Pass Wednesday in the morning, 9 o'clock, usual time. We'll be taking all your questions. We'll preview all the MLS games because there's a bunch of them tomorrow. Then 2 o'clock, stoppage time, facebook.com/929 the game. Myself and Mike Conti will get you ready there. About 6:30 on the Atlanta United social media channels, the AT&T countdown to kickoff. We'll have the lineup for you, a little bit of a preview action, some players to watch, some tools to the match. 7 o'clock, we're on 92.9 The Game and the radio.com app and the Atlanta United app with radio coverage. Kickoff should be, it's an FS1 game, so it might be later than...
Like the 20 after?
I don't... You tell me because I have no idea. Sometimes they do a longer pregame, sometimes they don't. It could be 7:38. It will probably be later than that. Whenever the game ends, we'll have the full-time report for an hour on the radio and on the radio.com app and on the Atlanta United app. So it'll be a busy day.
So many places to watch and listen. Where can they find you?
Long Shoe for me on social media. You can also yell at all of us on Soccer Down Here as well, but yell at me at Long Shoe.
Awesome. I will be watching from Casa de la New Apartment Kelly.
Casa de la New Apartment Kelly.
Why did that go? It's Spanish and French.
I don't know.
Okay, just checking.
Hey, it was all good.
Because it's normally what I do is mix both Spanish and French whenever I'm talking to anybody. Like, bonjour, ¿Cómo se
New Apartment de Kelly?
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to find me or tweet at me or have anything to say about my awful, horrendous takes, you can find me at the Kelly Francis. I will be live tweeting the game because why not? Hopefully, I still have power. We are supposed to be getting a little bit of a storm on Wednesday. So either way, I will probably be logging on if I have nothing else to listen to Jason and Mike Conti call the game. And if not, then we can also just have them on simultaneously during the broadcast.
Sync it up.
Exactly. Either way, we are so glad that you joined us. Come back and join us again. The guys will be doing the run-up on Halloween, the 31st. Spooky things, guys. Spooky things. So we will see you again, and hopefully by that time we will be 3 points higher in our standings. So there you go.
Adios. Later.